Hello and welcome back to episode 5 of the Tips and Tricks series. Today's video I will be doing some online videos showing off racecraft and going through what I'm thinking in every moment of online racing. Now I did say in a previous video this would be a live com and you get my live reaction and you get my live thoughts, but I recorded it and I wasn't happy with the content. Pretty much in live time it's pretty hard to say as much as you're thinking while trying to do it. So I said what I do is I record again, no audio, just talk about it afterwards and explain what I'm thinking, because I'll still see from what I'm doing, what I'm thinking and how I approach it, because I'll know myself. So that's what we're going to do. So without further ado, let's get over to the footage. So you join me here for race 1. We are at Austria. Great race to start off the video to prove a lot of my points. As you can see, I get a poor start on purpose. I roll off. And now coming up to turn 1, I brake quite early. You can see already riders running right, stuff happening all over track, everyone's all over the place. I stayed out of trouble, so I avoid this guy immediately. Just try and get a good run past him because he ran off track, came back and looked like he was all over the place. Getting into here, braking super early. Just had a quick look into my shoulder because that guy didn't look too good coming out of turn 1, sorry. And you can see I'm already up to second. So in 2 corners, I went back to last and let everyone take each other out and back to second. Now this guy ET up ahead is quite good again. That KTM that crashed was the guy that ran off track in turn 1 and I avoided. That's why I went slightly defensive view to scene on entry into turn 3. But as I was saying, ET up ahead seems like quite a good rider because it does take me a lap or two to catch him. Now I haven't edited this one, I've edited some of them, so I've cut footage. This one you have all 3 laps. So you can see now at this stage of the race my objective is just to pull him in. One of the worst things you'll ever feel in an online race or league race or any race really is if the guy behind you starts to pull you in. If you're in first, second, 9th and the guy behind you is putting in personal best behind you, taking tenth and a tenth out of you, and you're riding at your limit and you can't ride any harder, you try harder and you make mistakes and the gap gets smaller again, you start to focus so much on him you make your own mistakes. So as you can see here, I go just a touch wide, but with the Ducati I squared off and get a good exit. Now the gap is down to 1.6. You can see now it's slowly coming down on straight. By the end of this lap I hope to be within 1 second of my goal, just coming onto the last lap. He runs it wide there, touches the curb, which means he got a poor exit, so the gap is already under a second. So I already know I'm like a shark. I sniff blood, I can sense he's making mistakes. He's wide there again. I cut back late apex, gap's down to 0.7. So I know I'm going to have a whole lap of this guy in a minute to make a move. Now I know this is a short lap, so I'm still eager to get onto his back wheel, hopefully by the exit of the last corner, so then I can have a good run into turn 1 and I can start putting him under pressure. The best ways to pass and win races online, league racing, mainly online, is putting the rider in front under pressure. You can see again, he's made mistakes, he's touch wide, whereas I was inch perfect. Half a second is the gap. I think over a second lap quicker than him. So I've brought the gap down to 0.5. He runs wide, track extends. Now again, if that's a league race, he gets a mark. You just made him make a mistake. He gets a poor run. I'm after getting a great run on him. I'm going to brake slightly late just to shadow him on the inside. A lot of people will look over their shoulder just as they brake. He blows his braking marker. So did I, to be fair, but not as bad. Now it's only 0.4 of a second as of now. So he's in full defense mode. I brake slightly early there again just to see if he runs it wide, but he actually gets this perfect. Gets a great line through there, which means he'll have a good drive up the hill. So the next sectors are kind of shut off. And now with this track being difficult, as you can see I go for a bit of an out wide one, but I have to slightly pick up the bike because I'm afraid I was going to hit him. He touches the curb. He knows I'm right on him. I'm going to go to the outside to see can I get him to make a mistake. He just kind of runs me wide. Perfectly fair. He had the lead. He was running the lead, so he could take what lines he wants. Now, coming into this sector here, my only opportunity really is the last corner. Again, brake slightly early here, just hope that he outbrakes himself, gets perfect. like I said, he is quite good. And into the last corner, you'll see he touches the curb, gets poor exit. Now he goes to cover the inside, I go to the outside. He moves over, but it's too late. Across the line. So, race 2. We are Alex Marquez. We are at Qatar. Again, that poor start. Make a habit of looking over your shoulder when you get off the line. You can see I brake quite early and I take a very defensive and tight line. I stay on the inside. Most people run wide on turn 1, so always favour the inside. Now I'm on the outside here, which means I have to pick the bike up. You can see I picked the bike up just early enough that I didn't go down with that Fabio Quartararo bike. If your bike is upright, you can sustain a lot more collisions without coming off. You can see more riders crashing on the outside, so now I'm just trying to pick my way through. I can see this guy is not at a good line through there, so I'm going to make the go up the inside. He pulls a stoppie, I pull a tight line, making sure I'm getting the bike stopped, just doing my bit. Up to P3 already. Now there's 2 riders ahead of me. A second and a half, 2 seconds up the road. They seem to be going side by side, so they're going to cost each other time. My goal is to catch them by the end of the lap, which in turn will give me 2 laps, so a lap for each rider is the way I look at it. So as I come in here, he's trying to go defensive, he's a bit all over the place. I know that. I go wide, cut inside, get a good run, and I'm going to go up the inside into the penultimate corner. So I could see him kind of getting flustered because I was there, so I made his poor decisions into my advantage, taking wide sweeping lines to get better exits. Now I do run it deep in the last corner on purpose because it is a very common place to go for an overtake. So, just to block off the slipstream to dive on, I go slightly defensive into turn 1. And like I said, I have a lap now where I can push for this guy. I wanted to be 2 laps, 1 for each rider, but I managed to get him by the end of the lap. He's wide, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the left of the track, you'd see, get a good run through this. He's poor exit, he's going to run off track. Now, I could send it up the inside, but I decide not to because he thinks I will. He makes that decision. Now I will keep an eye on that outside of the track just to be sure he doesn't make a mistake. He goes for a very aggressive move, comes down. I could see him coming, so I set it up. He crashed into side me. There's nothing I could do. I was the lead rider, he crashed into me, so the collision wasn't my fault. And that was the end of the race. I pulled out 5 seconds over the guy behind me in the next lap and won comfortably. So for race 3 we're off to Portimao. I'm Fabio Quartararo. Since in the update there's been a bit of a glitch like that where people manage to do burnouts on the grid. I don't know what happens. For once I'm at the front of the grid, so I try and make a good launch. Again, try and go tight. That Ducati's not making the corner, you can see. So I got a bit lucky there. But as you'll see in a second, I get a bit lucky on here. Kaboom. I was already wide and that guy might as well not stopped. I got even very lucky again there. So when this happens, the most important thing is you stay consistent for this lap. You push to your limits and you make sure you make back out the positions. I run slightly wide here, but you can square it off for a decent run up the hill, which will maximise turn 6. You can see even though I've been taken out, there's so many other people taken out, I'm up to P4 already. This guy here runs wide, so I'm already thinking, can I get him into the next right-hander? So we go down through Craig Jones' corner, and then up into this right-hander here. I reckon he'll run it wide. He does a stoppie. That Ducati's gone wide as well, or Aprilia I think it is. I touch the grass. Again, he's completely offline. I'm going to go to the outside. Oh, sorry, it's the KTM. And he goes way off track and crashes. That's me to P2. a lot of crashes will give you positions. You need to. People online think they're Mark Marquez and they're prime Rossi and a prime Stoner, and that they can pull off these unbelievable moves just by braking late and just because they want to. That's not the way it happens. I'm quite good at this game. I'm a high level player, and even I struggle to make overtakes on slow players. It's just because at high speed and the bike's moving, so many things can happen between two riders that it's hard. No, I'm pretty good at doing it. I would say I'm fairly good at doing it. But do I reckon I can pass anyone on the brakes into any corner? No, it's just not possible. You've seen in the video I've made some nice overtakes, but it's just not possible to be Rossi into every corner and be able to pass people and sit people up, because in real life, real riders will give real riders space. In the game, they'll lean on you, they'll squeeze you, they'll tap you, they'll run you wide, they'll do all sorts. But as you can see here now, the gap was up at about 6 seconds, I think, so it's down to 1. I've taken 1.5 out of him in the first sector alone. I'm catching him quite quickly, and this goes back to my Spielberg race when he said there's nothing worse than a rider taking time out of you. It's even worse if I'm taking half a second a sector, because this guy's thinking he's coming, he's going to get there. You can see it's down to 4 seconds now, thereabouts. I saw a crash, I thought it was him, but it wasn't. Now I have another lap, but you can see 3.6, 2.9. So again, more time shed to me. So he's thinking he's going to get me by the end of the next lap. So he's going to ride tight. He's going to make more mistakes. And when you're the rider behind you, you're doing this, you gain confidence. You feel invincible. You just ride so well. And it's quite weird. It's hard to replicate. It's great in league racing. It's great in online videos like this, where you're doing races and you're just pulling the guy in front because it gives you so much confidence. But as we come up to start the final lap, the gap is down to 2.6 seconds. I go 2.6 seconds a lap faster than him that time, so I took over 2.5 seconds faster than him. Now I do make a small mistake here, just run off. Didn't really gain or lose time. The gap is down to 2.3, 2.4. He was wide through there. So he knows now he's going to have to do a great lap, because he knows I'm seconds faster than him, so he knows that I'm going to catch him by the last 3 or 4 corners. And you can see the gaps coming down. He's doing alright, but he'll know he'll be the one riding tight because he can see the finish line. He's half a lap, and he actually hasn't done too bad on the opening sector. He's only lost half a second to me. It's under 2 seconds. He'll start to hear me in any moment now, because it's down to 1.8. And into this sector here, I'm slightly wide, lose a bit of time on him. Now this hasn't been a great lap for me, watching it back. I haven't really gained much time. He actually has picked up his pace quite a lot, but he is probably riding at his limits, as you'll see in a second. Coming into this corner here, he touches the white line, tucks the front, and hands the race to me, because last lap 2.6 seconds faster I was, just gave me the race win, because he overrode, made mistakes thinking I was going to catch him. And yeah, it's this game is it's such a mental game. It's all in the head a lot of times, with it being down to being put under pressure and people not being able to deal, and people being too focused on the gaps and so many other things. And we're on to the final race of the video, Johan Mir at Phillip Island. So front row start again, poor start, and this guy TPS takes the lead. I purposely stay higher gear, and then I end up getting caught because he runs wide. So what I do is I look over my shoulder, I stay off track, because people are approaching at well over 100 miles an hour. If I merge there, I'm going to take myself out. Already I've gained 1 position back to the guy who ran off track at turn 2. So this guy here seems pretty slow, so I kind of give him room, but I just go for them because he gives me room as well. Back around wide, so I'm already back to P7, making up positions. More people running wide and gaining positions everywhere, just for people making mistakes. Now we're getting up to top 5 now, so this should be a little bit harder, because these guys have made the first half lap without going off track, so these guys I'll have to pass on merit. So this guy here, I can just see he isn't turning in early enough, so what I do is I go down to second. He's slightly wide, so I'm going to hug the left side of the track, brake early, and he actually gives me plenty of room. You see I'm tentative tipping him, thinking he'd go over it, but I gave him the space. He didn't. I filled the gap instead, and that's P4. Now I can see the three in front of me. First has a nice gap, and then second and third are quite close. So my goal is by the end of lap 2 is to be in second. Then that gives me a lap at the leader to try and win the race. So he's coming out to turn 1. The man in third, Desmond Davi, is slightly wide, which would sacrifice his run. And again, gets on the grass there, loses it, almost tagging his bike. I pretty much knew I was going to miss it, but it was actually quite close in the end. But that's one position done. Now it's just the guy in second place, ET. Now he's going to push like hell, catch him. Make up a lot of time on the brakes. Now I do run wide, but I get a good exit, squared off very aggressively, and I made up time even though I ran wide. So coming to Siberia now, I am all over the back of him, waiting to pounce. So again, into this next section here, I can see again so much time there, so I have a lot more confidence on corner entry. You can see he tips in, takes a weird line, I dive inside, go back to second gear just to get the bike turning in. And I can see he wants to go for it, so I brake slightly early, even go for it. Now he actually gets his pull down, which was a nice move. I didn't expect him that. I thought he'd run it wide the way the bike snapped, but he runs it wide there again. I did think about going up the inside, but it would hamper my run into this corner, so I said there's a straight coming up, I maximise my exit by going out to second, use the slipstream and try and get him into turn 1. And that's exactly what I do. Now I run it slightly wide because I went for a late braking point to make sure I got the move done, which I did. So now last lap, 1.2 seconds up to the leader. It's going to be a qualifying lap for me to catch him. So I'm all out attack here. Maximum push. He runs it wide there now, so I'm already knowing that he's struggling. So I'm going to push through this final, or sector 3 I should say. Touches the curb. He's pretty good, this guy, so he's not making many mistakes. You can see the gaps down to half second. I'm taking 0.7 out of the first half of the lap. Again, runs wide there. If I was slightly closer, I could try and move down into MG, but I'm not. So what I try is to make a good exit, but I actually make a mistake. Rear wheel comes off the ground, and that kind of cost me my chance of victory. Even though I do get close to him, and coming to the last corner, I do get a good exit on him. But if I was slightly closer, if I didn't make that mistake down into MG, this attempt here at the run to the line, and I think I lose the race by a tenth, so definitely lost a tenth in MG, and I crossed line second. So you can see small mistakes can punish you like that, but it still was good to show. I wanted to include that one even though I didn't win, just to show how I approached the situation. But so I'm going to leave this video here for today. That was episode 5. If you have any questions about any other situations or any other content that you're struggling with, please feel free to comment in the comments below, ask me anything at all. So yeah, thanks again for watching. I'll leave this video here. See you in the next one.